Carvana's so easy. Just a click and we've got ourselves a car. See?
So many cars. That's a click-tastic inventory.
And check out the financing options. Payments to fit our budget. I mean, that's...
Clickonomics 101.
Delivery to our door?
Just a hop, skip, and a click away.
And what?
No better feeling than when everything just clicks. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 45% off with minimum purchase plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. What if comparing car insurance rates was as easy as putting on your favorite podcast? With Progressive, it is. Just visit the Progressive website to quote with all the coverages you want. You'll see Progressive's direct rate, then their tool will provide options from other companies so you can compare. All you need to do is choose the rate and coverage you like. Quote today at Progressive.com to join the over 28 million drivers who trust Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Bill Lamar was always different. He just never knew why. Friends were few and far between because of where and how he lived. What Bill did have was the desert. The desert taught Bill Lamar how to listen. It hummed in the heat, the way wires did when current passed through them, a thin, constant sound that most people ignored. Bill didn't. He lay on his stomach behind the trailer with a screwdriver between his teeth, the sun flattening the world into white glare, and listened to the radio guts spread before him like a careful offering. The radio hadn't worked since before his mother bought it at a yard sale. Bill liked to see where the sound would have been born, liked to imagine it trying to escape. He was 9 and small for his age, all elbows and knobbly knees, his hair permanently dusted the color of sand no matter how often his mother washed it. He had learned early that taking things apart was easier than putting them back together, and that this wasn't a failure so much as a beginning. If you knew what something was made of, its screws, its coils, the delicate green roads etched into circuit boards, you were already closer to knowing why it behaved the way it did. People, Bill had noticed, were harder. The trailer sat a half-mile off the 2-lane highway, alone except for a rusted satellite dish and the bleached remains of a fence that had once tried and failed to keep the desert out. At night, headlights slid past like ghosts, and sometimes Bill counted them from his bedroom window until his mother called him to brush his teeth. During the day, there was nothing but heat and sky and the quiet pressure being nowhere important. Bill liked that. Nowhere important meant no interruptions. His mother, Sharon Lamar, worked nights at the gas station in town, the one with the flickering sign in the bathroom that never quite smelled clean. She slept during the day with the blinds drawn, her exhaustion heavy enough to be a physical thing. Bill learned to be quiet without being told. He learned how to pour cereal without clinking the bowl, how to turn the TV on with the volume already low, how to exist like a shadow that didn't ask questions. Sharon loved him fiercely, in the way of someone who was always afraid of losing the one good thing they had left. She hugged him too tightly before leaving for work, pressed her lips into his hair, and said, "Don't open the door for anyone," even though no one ever came. She asked about school when she remembered to, nodded when he talked about science class, about batteries and magnets, and how electricity was really just a kind of agreement between particles. She didn't understand what he was saying, but she understood that it mattered to him. School was an obligation Bill endured. The other kids called him Radio Boy after he brought a homemade transmitter for show and tell and accidentally picked up a burst of static that sounded like a voice. The teacher laughed it off. Bill did not. He had listened to the noise for days afterward, replaying it in his head. Sure, there had been a pattern he hadn't caught the first time. When the kids shoved him in the hallway or took his lunch, he retreated inward, cataloging the world instead of engaging with it. Solitude, he discovered, was predictable. The desert helped with that too. It was vast enough to swallow thoughts whole. Bill spent hours wandering with a backpack full of scavenged parts, old clocks, dead calculators, a toaster someone had thrown away behind the gas station. He set up little laboratories in the shade of boulders, arranging his finds with the reverence of ritual. Tiny machines doing exactly what they were built to do. Sometimes, when the sun dipped low and the air cooled, Bill felt watched. Not in the way that made his skin crawl, but in the way a circuit feels current before it sparks. He would look up at the empty horizon, at the mirage shimmer of heat and distance, and feel a strange certainty settle in his chest. The desert was not empty. It was waiting. Back at the trailer, with his radio cracked open and his mother asleep inside, Bill touched the exposed wires and imagined a world that made sense. A world where everything followed rules, where signals traveled cleanly from one place to another, where nothing spoke unless it was meant to be heard. He didn't yet have the language to name the other feeling that threaded through his quiet afternoons, the sense that something, somewhere beyond the limits of his tools, was already listening back. If Bill Lamar learned anything as a child, it was this. Being alone didn't mean being isolated. Sometimes it just meant you were closer to the signal than everyone else. The acceptance letter came in a thin, white envelope that looked embarrassed to be there. Bill found it stuck in the trailer's mailbox, bent from the heat, his name typed slightly crooked across the front. Desert View Community College. He knew the place only by reputation, a cluster of low buildings squatting at the edge of a town so small it barely warranted a dot on a map. 2,000 people if you counted the ones who lived outside city limits, fewer if you didn't. It was close enough that his mother could still see him, close enough that the desert didn't have to let him go. Sharon cried when he told her, pressing the letter flat against the kitchen table like it might try to escape. She said she was proud of him, said it more than once, as if repetition might make up for all the other things she hadn't been able to give him. Then she said, carefully,
"You'll stay here, right?"
The question was small, but heavy. Bill nodded. He'd already decided. He took a part-time job at the same gas station where his mother worked nights, stocking shelves in the early mornings and fixing what little he could when things broke. The owner learned quickly that if something electrical stopped working, Bill was cheaper than a repair call. He liked the back room best, surrounded by humming refrigerators and buzzing fluorescent lights. They spoke a language he understood. Desert View was even quieter than he expected. The buildings felt flat and sun-bleached, connected by cracked sidewalks and patches of stubborn weeds. There was no dorm life, no crowds spilling out of lecture halls. Most students came and went between jobs, families, obligations that pulled them back out into the world as soon as class ended. Bill liked that, too. It meant no one noticed when he stayed late. He gravitated toward physics and engineering courses immediately, filling his schedule with circuit theory, introductory electronics, and anything that mentioned systems or signals. His professors recognized his aptitude with a mix of appreciation and mild unease. Bill didn't just learn material. He absorbed it, dismantled it, reassembled it in his head until it fit better than it had before. He asked questions that stretched just past the edge of the syllabus. What happens if a signal doesn't have a sender anymore? The professor blinked, laughed awkwardly, and said something about noise. Bill wrote the word down and circled it. His childhood obsessions didn't fade with age. They sharpened. His bedroom filled with scavenged equipment, oscilloscopes rescued from storage closets, outdated radios from thrift stores, spools of wire and breadboards laid out with meticulous care. He soldered late into the night while his mother slept, the smell of melted metal and dust drifting softly through the trailer. Sometimes Sharon woke to find the light still on and asked him if he ever slept. Bill told her he did, just not when things were interesting. He made few friends, though one lab partner tried. A kid named Aaron, talkative and perpetually tired, asked Bill if he ever did anything normal. Bill didn't know how to answer that. He stopped partnering with Aaron after the semester ended and felt relieved. The desert crept closer that year, or maybe Bill simply noticed it more. He began taking walks after class, followed dry riverbeds and power lines out past where the town thinned into nothing. He brought recording equipment with him, sensitive microphones, improvised antennas, claiming it was for experiments. Sometimes he picked up interference that didn't match any known source. Bursts of static that pulsed with irregular rhythm. Patterns that vanished when he tried to isolate. At night, lying awake, Bill replayed those sounds in his mind the way he had as a child. He thought about the desert as a vast, open system, no walls, no insulation, nothing to stop signals from traveling vast distances unbroken. He wondered what else used that openness. What else might find it useful? Sharon noticed the circles under his eyes, the way he flinched when appliances clicked on unexpectedly. She asked if school was too much. Bill told her it wasn't enough. She didn't press. By the end of his first year, Bill Lamar had done exactly what was expected of him. He passed his classes. He helped pay the bills. He stayed close to home. But something subtle had shifted, like a frequency drifting just out of alignment. The desert no longer felt merely quiet. And sometimes when Bill tuned his equipment just right, he was almost certain it was responding. The experiment began as a problem Bill couldn't let go of. Desert View's lab equipment shut down automatically at 10 each night, but Bill had learned its habits the way other people learned sleep schedules. He knew which breakers could be reset without triggering alerts, which machines logged usage and which ones only pretended to. What he was doing wasn't for a grade. No syllabus covered it. In fact, no one else even knew it existed. It started with a question he'd been carrying since childhood. What signals are quiet enough that we assume they aren't there at all? Bill built the receiver piece by piece, a hybrid of school equipment and scavenged components smuggled in from home. He modified an old Spectrum analyzer, stripped out its factory filters, and rewrote the software so it would stop correcting anomalies. The antenna came last, a long skeletal structure of wire and copper rods he mounted behind the science building, aligned not toward town or sky, but straight out into the desert's empty reach. When he powered it on, nothing happened. For 3 nights, the system returned only the expected wash of static, the faint electromagnetic pulse of the planet itself. Bill logged everything anyway. He adjusted gain levels by fractions, changed grounding points, rechecked his math until numbers blurred together. On the 4th night, just after midnight, the screen twitched. A single pulse appeared. It wasn't strong, it wasn't loud, but it was precise. Bill replayed the data, isolating the moment, magnifying it until the waveform filled the display. The pulse held its shape perfectly across repetitions, untouched by drift or decay. He checked for interference, rerouted power, shut down nearby equipment. The pulse remained, waiting. He felt the same cold thrill he'd felt as a boy hunched over a broken radio, the sense of being on the edge of something that didn't care whether he was ready. Over the next week, Bill expanded the array. He slept in the lab, waking to the low hum of machines and the slow crawl of data across his monitors. The signal returned irregularly, never on a predictable schedule, but always in response to adjustment, as if it were listening as carefully as he was. When Bill shifted the antenna by half a degree, the pulses tightened. When he altered frequency bands, the signal followed, sliding into place like a lock finding its key. This was not a broadcast. This was an exchange. He tried to decode it mathematically, running transforms until the patterns resolved into something that made his chest ache. The pulses formed structures, repeating clusters that echoed ratios found in natural systems, spirals and breaks that suggested compression rather than randomness. When he converted the data into visual space, the shapes looked uncomfortably intentional. Not language. Not quite. He didn't tell anyone. Not his professors, not the few students who still wandered the lab during daylight hours. He dismantled the school portion of the receiver each morning and rebuilt it at night, carrying the most sensitive components back to the trailer in his backpack. At home, the signal grew stronger as if distance from the campus's grounding system allowed it to breathe. The desert answered him there. After midnight, the equipment warmed under his hands, vibrating softly like something alive beneath a thin shell. The trailer's lights flickered. Sharon's old radio turned on without being touched, spilling static that pulsed in time with the signal's rhythm. Bill stared at the screen, mouth dry, as the pattern changed while he watched. Not randomly, in response. Bill leaned closer, his reflection warped across the glass. "I see you." The signal shifted again, faster now, denser. That was the night Bill stopped doubting himself. Two days later, a black sedan rolled into the gas station parking lot just before sunset. It didn't belong among the dust-caked pickups and sun-faded sedans. Bill noticed it immediately, the way he noticed anything that didn't fit the pattern. The driver waited until Bill stepped outside, then opened the door and emerged with a deliberate calm.
Bill Lamar.
Bill nodded, every instinct suddenly alert. The man wore plain clothes that somehow carried authority anyway. His eyes flicked briefly toward the desert beyond the road, then back to Bill as though confirming something.
You've been running a private experiment. A very clever one.
He gestured toward the open car door. The inside looked dark despite the sun.
My employer would like to make you an offer. One that comes with better equipment, better funding, and fewer electrical disturbances at home.
Bill didn't move.
Tell me, how would you feel about a job?
Carvana's so easy, just a click, and we've got ourselves a car. See?
So many cars. That's a click-tastic inventory.
And check out the financing options. Payments to fit our budget. I mean, that's
Clickonomics 101.
delivery to our door.
Just a hop, skip, and a click away.
And bought.
No better feeling than when everything just clicks. Buy your car today on
Carvana.
Delivery fees may apply.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 45% off with minimum purchase plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
Are high-interest credit cards or personal loans weighing you down? Unlock gives homeowners a smarter option. With a home equity agreement, you can tap into your home's equity for cash today, and there are no monthly payments. Here's how it works. Unlock provides funds upfront and in exchange shares in a portion of your home's future value. That means you keep control with the flexibility to use your equity your way. Pay off bills, invest in home improvements, or set aside savings for peace of mind. For thousands of homeowners, Unlock has been the key to moving forward without the pressure of another payment. Put your equity to work for you. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.